We are reaching the end of this series, Real Bookie. In this video, we'll tell you about the NFC West. Subscribe to our channel to keep getting industry-leading information. The first team is the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals have been in Arizona since the 1988 season after leaving St. Louis following the 1987 season. Let's find out more about the Arizona Cardinals and their history. With several cities as the home city for the Cardinals, the organization has played 7 venues since 1920. They originally were in Norman Park in Chicago and then moved to Comiskey Park, then to Wrigley Field before heading back to Comiskey. The 1960 and 1965 seasons were at Busch Stadium before moving to New Busch Memorial Stadium. They moved to Glendale, Arizona to play at the Sun Devil Stadium. In 2006, the Cardinals moved to State Farm Stadium. Playing over 100 seasons of football, the Cardinals have played in just 17 playoff games. Larry Fitzgerald is known as one of the best receivers of all time and definitely in Cardinals history. He caught over 1,400 passes for 17,492 yards and 121 touchdowns. Fitzgerald set a postseason record with 546 yards, 30 receptions, and 7 touchdowns. Bruce Arians is the winningest coach in franchise history, but only won 49 games in his career. The Arizona Cardinals have seen a long line of guys as the signal caller of their franchise. The guy with the most starts is Jim Hart, but he is one of many that did not finish above 500. In fact, Hart, along with Neil Lomax and Jake Plummer, are at the top 3 in the starts, all finished under 500. Jimmy Conzelman and Charles Bidwell are the 2 coaches and contributors from the franchise in the Hall of Fame. Conzelman was a coach from 1940 to 1948 and got into the Hall of Fame in 1964. Charles Bidwell was the team owner from 1933 to 1947 and was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1967. The first player for the Cardinals inducted into the Hall of Fame was fullback Ernie Nevers. He was inducted in 1963. After that, Guy Chamberlain and John Driscoll were both inducted in 1965. In 1929, the Cardinals played on Thanksgiving Day against the Chicago Bears. The Cardinals won 40-6, but that was not the story. Ernie Nevers scored all 40 points. That's an NFL record that still stands. The Cardinals have a mascot known as Big Red. He is 6'4" and has a 7-inch wingspan. He is one of the most recognizable mascots in all of sports. He became the official mascot and has been at every home game since the 1998 season. Pat Tillman is known as one of the most famous Arizona Cardinal players, but not only for his play on the field. Tillman left the National Football League after the terrorist attacks of 2001 to enlist in the United States Army. Tillman was killed in a friendly fire accident during his time in Afghanistan. Tillman played his college football at Arizona State, so his allegiance in the city was pretty strong. Next team is the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams have quite a history, and it dates all the way back to 86 years since their first season in 1937. This includes a couple of moves to various parts of the country. The Rams have had plenty of ups and downs when it comes to success on the field. Let's take a look and break down the history of the Los Angeles Rams. With a long-standing history of the Rams, who actually started in Cleveland, moved to Los Angeles, then moved to St. Louis before moving back to Los Angeles, the place they call home has changed 8 times in their franchise history. SoFi Stadium is one of the most modern venues in all of professional sports. Since they opened the door, the location has also become the home to the Los Angeles Chargers. SoFi Stadium was the host of Super Bowl in February of 2022. The Rams became the second team to play a Super Bowl in their home stadium. Despite being declared the road team, the Rams were the second team to make SoFi Stadium in the record book for its main tenant winning the Super Bowl. Damon Wetzel was the general manager at the time the franchise started. His favorite college team was the Fordham Rams. He wanted to stick with it for his own franchise team, and that's why they went with it. It remained that to this day. Fordham University is a Catholic university in the Bronx, New York. The history of the franchise in Cleveland, Los Angeles, and St. Louis, and then back to Los Angeles has won a total of 604 games. The Rams have won 26 postseason games. Jim Everett holds a bunch of the records at quarterback with 23,758 yards and 142 touchdowns. Steven Jackson was an elite running back for the organization with 10,138 yards and 56 touchdowns. Isaac Bruce was 58 receptions shy of 1,000 in his career and finished with 84 touchdowns. The Rams organization has 4 league championships in its history. The first 2 were before the 1970 merger of the AFL and NFL. Roman Gabriel is the leader in passing touchdowns of all time for the Los Angeles Rams in franchise history. Gabriel threw for 22,223 yards and 154 touchdowns. There was a whole list of guys from the Rams franchise in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, a total of 16. The list dates all the way back to 1968 when Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch, an elite running back, was inducted. A trio of non-players are also in the Pro Hall of Fame. Dan Reeves was inducted in 1967 as an owner. George Allen was as a coach in 1966 to 1970 and was inducted in 2002. And most recently, head coach Dick Vermeil was inducted in 2022. Some common nicknames for the Rams include Greatest Show on Turf. That's when fans called the team during their offensive powerhouse days in St. Louis between 1999 and 2001. The Mob Squad are what their current fans are called, starting in 2015, and in the late 1960s and early 1970s, they're referred to as the Fearsome Foursome. The Rams have a mascot named Rampage. He is a ram that wears a Rams jersey with a number 1 on it. He has been around the organization since 2010. The next team for this video is the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers have one of the richest history in all of the National Football League. The organization has been playing professional football since 1946. The 49ers have 5 Super Bowl championships, with a 13-year dominance from the early 1980s to the mid-1990s. Let's take a look at some of the most important San Francisco 49ers history over the last 75 plus years. The 49ers started their franchise at Kezar Stadium. Then, the 49ers moved to the famous Candlestick Park. There, the 49ers shared with the baseball's San Francisco Giants. 2013 was the final season at Candlestick Park before moving into the new, beautiful Levi's Stadium, named after the Levi Strauss & Co. group. The history behind the San Francisco 49ers and their team name comes from their rich history in the Bay Area. The original owners of the franchise suggested the name 49ers after voyagers rushed the west for gold. San Francisco was one of the most popular West Coast cities to have them invade. When the 49ers originally came up with their logo, it was a gold miner in boots and a lumberjack shirt firing off a pair of pistols. The San Francisco 49ers have 612 career wins. The 49ers have 37 playoff wins. Joe Montana, of course, is likely the most popular name in franchise history. Montana finished with more than 35,000 passing yards and 244 touchdowns. His top target was Jerry Rice, who was 753 yards shy of 20,000 and came away with 176 touchdowns. The San Francisco 49ers have had their share of success in the National Football League. They have been to the Super Bowl 7 times in franchise history, with 5 of them coming away as winners. The first one came on January 24, 1982, at the Pontiac Super Bowl in Michigan. Super Bowl went to the 49ers under the direction of Bill Walsh. The final most recent Super Bowl win for the San Francisco 49ers came back at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami. This was a battle of all California at Super Bowl as the 49ers took down the San Diego Chargers after winning 4 Super Bowl titles. Joe Montana called it quits and Steve Young took over as the quarterback. The 49ers have won their division 21 times. They have gone to the postseason 29 times. With all of the success of the San Francisco 49ers comes a great line of great quarterbacks. While Joe Montana and Steve Young are the most common quarterbacks for the organization, John Brody actually has made the most starts. Brody was under 500 with 74 wins and 77 losses in his 159 games started. The San Francisco 49ers have 15 players they call their own in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They have also had Edward DeBartolo Jr., the owner from 1977 to 2000, and also Bill Walsh, the head coach from 1979 through 1988, and then the front office member until 2004. The very first regular season game of the franchise came against the New York Yankees. Yes, the Yankees were a football team at that time. Roger Craig of the 49ers became the first player in NFL history to have 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards in a single season. The first pick in the 49ers history was a lineman Leo Nominelli back in 1950. The San Francisco 49ers have a mascot named Sourdough Sam. The final team for this one is the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks, despite being just shy of 50 years old, are one of the youngest franchises in all of the National Football League. That does not mean they have not yet to see their share of success or have had their history. Seattle has a rich history of football and one of the best fan bases in all of the National Football League. Let's take a look at some of the history of the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks currently play their home games at Lumen Field. Lumen Field has been known as one of the best home field advantages in all the National Football League. The team has been there since 2002. Before playing at Lumen Field, the Seahawks started playing their games at the Kingdome, which is where their Major League Baseball team, the Seattle Mariners, played their home games. Then, while the Seahawks were preparing to move to their new location, they used Husky Stadium. Lumen Field used to be known as Seahawks Stadium, then Quest Field, then CenturyLink Field, and now Lumen Field. The Seattle Seahawks are named the Seahawks due to a fan contest, with nearly 20,000 fans entering and nearly 1,700 unique entries. The Seahawks were the most common name. Other names on the list included Skippers, Pioneers, Lumberjacks, and Seagulls. The organization liked the Seahawks due to Puget Sound's maritime heritage and the Native American culture. The nickname became an immediate success in the city of Seattle and surrounding areas. The Seahawks have played in 48 seasons in the National Football League and have won 383 games. The Seahawks have also 17 postseason wins. Russell Wilson is notorious for the Seahawks throwing for more than 37,000 yards and 292 touchdowns. The Seattle Seahawks have one Super Bowl to their name heading into the 2023 season. Super Bowl 48 was held at MetLife Stadium, which was the first cold-weather city to host a Super Bowl. The game was held on February 2, 2015. Seattle absolutely blew the doors off John Fox and his Denver Broncos. The game started with a safety, putting the Seahawks up 2-0 right away. The Seahawks have won their division 11 times in franchise history. Overall, Seattle has been to the postseason 20 times. A recap of quarterbacks for the Seattle Seahawks can only start with the mention of Russell Wilson. Wilson leads the franchise in games played, games started, passing attempts, pass completions, passing yards, and touchdowns. Russell Wilson is the best quarterback in Seattle franchise history. The Seattle Seahawks have just 4 players that they can call their own in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The first player inducted was their star receiver from 1976 to 1989, Steve Largent. Largent was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1995. The lone coach executive in the Pro Football Hall of Fame for Seattle was head coach Tom Flores. He was inducted in 2021 but spent just 3 seasons with the Seahawks. Many around Seattle have few nicknames over the years for the Seahawks. Many will refer to them as the Hawks. During the 1980s, fans called them the Blue Wave, and most recently, the Legion of Boom was made up for Seattle's secondary, most specifically between 2011 and 2017. Blitz is the official mascot of the Seattle Seahawks. Blitz is a large blue bird that has been coming to Seahawks home games since 1988 season. In 2014, the Seahawks grabbed a second mascot, Boom. He has a green hair and wears a backwards Seattle cap and wears 00 on his uniform. Thank you so much for getting to the end of the video. We hope you learned many fun facts on this one. Please like it and subscribe to our channel to keep getting new information every week.